kitchen. What are we doing today, William?
We're making beef bacon.
Oh, how unconventional.
Now the meat has been curing for 8 or 9 days. It needed to be a minimum of 7. It says to check on the firmness, and if it's nice and firm, then it's cured and it's ready for smoke.
It's an experiment. This particular cut of beef bacon we had butchered out of a homegrown steer a couple years ago, and we've been kind of eyeing it ever since.
Yeah, I've been busy doing other stuff. Made a bunch of brats. If you didn't see that video.
Yeah, we'll put it in the uppy thingy. I don't know what it's called. I think they're called cards.
So this is the cookbook. Lots of good recipes in there. Makes me really want to do some stuff. But it says to check for firmness, and that looks and feels pretty darn firm. Now, this is the first time I've done this. This is my mixture. This is a mixture of kosher salt and #1 curing salt. Now, I didn't know this until I read this book, but you use the #1 curing salt to prevent, I think it was botulism?
Yep.
Yeah, so, because there's a difference between #1 and #2, and that's why you want the #1. But read the book, it'll tell you. I got this at Amazon. I didn't need all of it for what I was doing. Gave me an amount to use. It's firm. It's beef belly.
What are we doing next?
We need to rinse it off.
Yep. And I will say that I learned from doing the corned beef, or corned bison.
I like it salty myself.
Well, I didn't rinse it one time, and it was way too salty. Yeah, it was way too salty. So definitely don't skip that step.
We're gonna rinse it. I'm gonna add that in that cookbook, the recipe did call for sugar, but I don't eat sugar.
And
I eat very little sugar, and so therefore I prefer not to cook with it or add it into anything like this.
And I will second that. The corned beef recipe also calls for sugar, and I always leave it out, and it's always really delicious. So the reason usually that sugar is added into a recipe, I don't know if you know this, William, has to do with actually colorization more than flavor. Because when you cook sugar, it caramelizes and it gets brown. So when we make our corned beef that I make here at home, because I don't add the sugar, it doesn't get that brown crust on it.
So, I'm gonna pat it dry.
Now this being a home-raised beef, grass-fed all the way, not grain finished, that's why it is so lean. If you were to either grain finish a steer that you raised or purchase this from a more mainstream supplier, you are likely to have a lot more fat on your cut than we have here.
Yeah, and the book said you want about an even ratio of fat, like a 1-to-1.
We don't have that.
We don't have that, no. They call it a hot smoke. We're gonna fire up the smoker. We gotta control it to about 200 degrees. And we're gonna smoke it to an internal temperature of 150.
So at this point, we're just gonna let it sit and let the smoker come up to temperature, and then we will fire it in there. And then, how long is it gonna be in the smoker at 200?
We need to check it at an hour and a half. But being that this is smaller, we probably need to check it around an hour. We're gonna kind of put it away from the heat a little bit, and we're gonna have it a little lower. I could go down lower, but I want to put it right there. And for all of you that probably know, heat rises, hence a little lower. We're at about an hour right now. Woo, we are squishy. I can't even probe it in there very far. We're at 105. We're still doing good. We're gonna leave it in there. Oh, we'll check it in about a half hour. You can do this in an oven. If you get that book, it tells you how to do it. But it basically says 200 degrees, cook it to an internal temp of 150. But we're using the smoker and gonna get that smoke flavor going on. Sure looks like it's cooking slow.
It does. So we're about another 45 minutes in.
Yeah. And I got the probe in a little farther. Ugh. And we're about 133. So, yeah, we'll give it another 15, 20 minutes.
Probably.
Yeah, based off of what's been going on. We're going to take it out. Our box is running out of steam. Smoker's down to about 170. And you could leave it in here too long. I still feel a little heat, but we're going to probe it anyways. Yeah, it's starting to cool off on its own. So we'll just take it out, let it rest on the counter, and says you can cut off a slab now and give it a try.
It's got some grill marks on the underside.
Imagine. And then you just let it cool off, and you store it and cut it like you would bacon.
Are you going to pre-slice it or freeze it whole?
Oh, I don't even know if it's gonna last long enough to go in the freezer.
Well, that's true. Moment of truth. You can see how similar it looks to traditional bacon. That's just because of the cut of where it comes from.
Yeah, that and the cure. The color's kind of the same. But we'll just take and make some little sample size pieces here.
Why don't you stop there?
Wow, we're gonna eat the whole piece, aren't we?
Hopefully.
Yeah. This way I can eat every other piece and not feel bad. Cheers? I guess.
Cheers. Salty.
I like salty bacon. She doesn't like it so salty. If you're one of the people that don't like it so salty, the book says you can blanch it by getting some water, bringing it to a simmer, take the slices you want to eat.
Oh, is it by the slice, not the whole thing? I guess that makes
I
sense.
think it's by the slice.
Okay.
And you just blanch it, simmer it for a minute or so, and it sucks a bunch of the salt out. Not very long, and then fry it.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. It's very salty.
The book did say that the end pieces would be more salty than the inside.
Overall, are you judging this a success?
Oh yeah, I got pork belly that needs to be tried.